The mid-20th century, 1940s. This is a time of heightened tension.
Why so many nations are building up their defenses.
Two of the world's most dangerous powers, the United States and the Soviet Union, are in a balance of terror. This is the Cold War, a time where the possibility of mutually assured destruction by nuclear weapons is a looming threat over both sides, and where propaganda such as Bert the Turtle are shown in schools.
There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered.
Here in Russia, you see the reason why we are spending billions of dollars in defense production. Why your family is paying the highest taxes in our history.
How is it possible, from this time of uncertainty and terror, there could be a revolutionary scientific exploration of space that has continued to this very day? On October 4th, 1957, Soviet scientists launched Sputnik 1 into orbit. Sputnik was the world's first artificial satellite.
When the first satellite was launched, the conversation tended to be about change and the experience of living over a long period of time.
You are hearing the actual signals transmitted by the Earth-circling satellite, one of the great scientific feats of the age.
Fear struck the United States. If the Soviet scientists had the capability to launch a satellite into orbit around the planet, it meant they also had the ability to possibly target and launch nuclear weapons at the United States. Only a month later, on November 3rd, 1957, the Soviet scientists launched Sputnik 2, this time with a special passenger, Laika the rocket dog. Laika proved to the Soviet scientists that living organisms could survive in space. As the Soviets continued to make more scientific advances, fear in the United States increased. On January 31st, 1958, in a desperation to keep up with the Soviet Union, the United States launched Explorer 1. With the first successful orbit, the United States entered into the space race.
The moment is at hand, the countdown reaches 0.
On October 1st, 1958, NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, was formed to replace the National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics. NASA's creation set the United States' commitment into space exploration, designating it as a major player in the decades to come. On April 12th, 1961, the Soviet scientists struck another first in space exploration. Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first man to enter space. In a Vostok 1 craft fitted for only one person, he orbited Earth once and returned to Russia a national hero. This was incredibly upsetting for the United States because, only 1 month later, on May 5th, 1961, naval officer and aviator Alan Shepard entered space in a Freedom 7 module and became the first American to enter space. 20 days after Alan Shepard's successful mission into space, the United States set a monumental goal. President John F. Kennedy addressed Congress in one of the most pivotal moments in all of human exploration.
I therefore ask the Congress, above and beyond the increases I have earlier requested for space activities, to provide the funds which are needed to meet the following national goals. First, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
That it became such an important, pivotal point in terms of setting a goal.
And an important pivotal point in terms of your life as an individual, as a person, as a scientist, and our life together.
With that, the United States flooded NASA with over $20 billion in funding, all with one goal in mind: the moon. Even with the goal of getting to the moon in mind, the Soviet Union had achieved many firsts of space exploration. Russian scientists sent the first man and woman in space, the first spacewalk, the first two-person operated mission, and the first three-person operated mission. The Russians were far ahead in this space race. Regardless, the United States funded NASA's Apollo missions. The technological benefits and restoration of national pride alone were immensely important to the United States, but the population also viewed the Soviet Union as the enemy, and the enemy was winning. The successful landing of a man on the moon would set the United States democracy over the Soviet Union's totalitarianism in the world's eyes. Only 6 months shy of President Kennedy's deadline to his monumental goal, the unbelievable happened.
Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
It was late in the evening when they televised Neil Armstrong stepping off the lunar lander.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It was tremendous excitement, lots of smiles on people's face.
On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first men to set foot on the moon. Around the world, an estimated 600 million people watched them plant the United States flag on the moon. It seemed that the United States had won the space race. They had accomplished President John F. Kennedy's mission to the moon. But just as the great expanse of space is endless, so is our mission to explore it. NASA continued to send explorations to the moon in countless probes and satellites across the stars. But the space race was not marked officially over until July 17, 1975, when a United States Apollo spacecraft and a Soviet Soyuz spacecraft met in orbit around the planet.
It was the final Apollo mission, and it met up with the Soyuz.
The crew members aboard both vehicles met and exchanged gifts with each other, symbolically ending the space race.
And I think this is probably, the benefits of this will be much greater in many other areas than in the space area itself. Just getting technical people together and teaching them how to work together and converse together.
The United States and Soviet Union scientists had worked together to test the ability of docking spacecrafts in upper Earth orbit. The Apollo-Soyuz joint mission showed the tolerance from two countries in a time of heightened tensions. The mission demonstrated to the world that peace and cooperation were possible, and that there was a shared purpose of exploration for humanity. So were these accomplishments of human innovation worth the feelings of fear from both sides of the Cold War? Was the social worry and political chaos worth the incredible scientific discoveries?
I would look at the results that have taken place and say we were able to move beyond it, to go further, to take a bad and make a lot of good out of it.
Whether on our beautiful planet or to the moon, human exploration will continue into the stars.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.